Welcome to all. My name is Dr. K. Sujata, Assistant Professor of Mathematics, Government Degree College, Kukatpalli. Today I am going to discuss about vector spaces, subspaces. The contents of the today's topics: vector spaces, properties, subspaces, linear combination, linearly dependent, linearly independent. First, we define the vector space. Let V be a non-empty set of vectors and F is a field of scalars. We define the two operations. One is vector addition and scalar multiplication. These two are called as a operations we define in the vector spaces. Therefore, here now we define the first axiom. If U and V are the two vectors in V, then U plus V is also in V. U plus V is equal to V plus U. This is called as a commutativity with respect to vector addition. Now we are going to third one. U plus V plus W is equal to U plus V plus W. This is called as a associative property with respect to vector addition. Coming to the fourth point, if there is a zero vector exists in V such that 0 plus U is equal to U plus 0 is equal to U for all U in V. This is called as a identity axiom. For each U in V, there exists a negative vector minus U in V such that U plus of minus U is equal to minus U plus U is equal to 0. If K is any scalar, these five properties are called as a with respect to vector addition. Therefore, now we say that V plus is an abelian group. V plus is an abelian group. If K is any scalar and U is any vector in V, then the product of vector into scalar is also in V. This is called as a V is closed under scalar multiplication. So these two are main important. One is the vector addition and scalar multiplication. V is closed under vector addition. V is closed under scalar multiplication. Then we say that these two are called as a binary operations. Coming to the point 7th, K into U plus V is equal to K into U plus K into V. K is distributed over the two vectors U and V. That is called as K into U plus V is equal to K into U plus K into V. Next axiom, K plus L into U is equal to K into U plus L into U. The ninth axiom is K into LU is equal to KL into U. The last one, 1 into U is equal to U. Therefore, these 10 axioms are called as a vector space axioms. Any set V can be satisfied these axioms, then we say that V is a vector space. So the scalars can be taken in the field set and the vectors can be taken in the vector set. Therefore, we can define the two operations. One is vector addition, another one is scalar multiplication. So then these 10 axioms satisfied by V, then we say that V is a vector space. This is very, very important. First definition of the vector space. Now coming to the examples. First, we define simple example to understanding the how to prove the vector space. V equal to R square. R square means it is a two-dimensional space. It is a two-dimensional space. It contains the vectors. The vector contains two components, U1 and U2. See here, u is equal to u1 and u2 and v is equal to v1, v2. We define the two operations. One is vector addition and scalar multiplication. See here, first we define the vector addition. U plus v is equal to u1 plus v1, u2 plus v2. If k is any real number, then we define k into u is equal to k into u1, comma 0. This is the v is v means r square here taken. Therefore, r square is closed under vector addition. R square is closed under scalar multiplication. First, we define the vector addition and scalar multiplication for this set R square. Now we have to prove that R square is R square a vector space or not. For example, we have to take in the real vectors. U is equal to 2 comma 4, v is equal to minus 3 comma 5, and k is equal to 7. Then by the definition of the vector addition, we can define u plus v is equal to 2 plus of minus 3, 4 plus 5 is equal to minus 1 comma 9. K into u is equal to 7 into u, that is equal to 7 into 2 here by defining the scalar multiplication. Scalar multiplication is here defined. K into u is equal to first component k into u1, second component is 0. That's why here also by the definition of the scalar multiplication, we have to write it 7 into 2 comma 0. That is equal to 14 comma 0. See here, the vector addition is satisfied in the R square, but scalar multiplication is not satisfied. Actually, what will be value we have to get here? K into U. K means 7. 7 into 2 comma 4, we get the value 14 comma 28. But here getting by the definition of the scalar multiplication, we have see here 14 comma 0. That's why scalar multiplication is not satisfied. And also that's why in this example, the vector R square is not a vector space. We can see another axiom also. If u is equal to u1 comma u2 and u2 not equal to 0, then 1 into u is equal to 1 into u1 comma u2. That's why by the definition of the scalar multiplication, how to write it? 1 into u1 comma 0. That is equal to u1 comma 0. That is not equal to u. That's why any one of the axiom is not satisfied by the given set, then we say that set is not a vector space. So this is the way to prove the any set given set, it is a vector space or not. This is the simple example for the vector space. This is the understanding example. So that's why V is not a vector space with the above binary operations. One is vector addition and scalar multiplication. Some more examples of vector spaces. R to the power of n. R to the power of n is a nth dimensional space. It contains the vectors having the n tuples. If we take the example, u is equal to u1 comma u2 comma so on un. These are the n tuple space. So how to prove R to the power of n is a vector space or not? See, first we have to define the vector addition and scalar multiplication. R to the power of n contains the vectors having n components. See here, first u vector, it contains the n components u1, u2, so on, un. So similarly, you have to take v vector that contains the v1, v2, so on, vn. So therefore, we can add these two n-tuple vectors. We can get the resultant is u1 plus v1, u2 plus v2, and so on, un plus vn. So these are also n-tuple components. That's why vector addition is satisfied. So another operation, scalar multiplication. that n tuple vector multiplied by k, we can get k into u1, k into u2, so on, k into un. This is called as a scalar multiplication. So now we have to prove the 10 axioms. Already 2 axioms are coming here because of this is a r to the power of n is closed under vector addition, r to the power of n is closed under scalar multiplication. So the remaining 8 axioms we have to prove now. So what is the second property? Commutativity. So commutative means u plus v is equal to v plus u. Because of the n tuples can be added like this, therefore u plus v is equal to v plus u. Therefore commutative axiom also satisfied by r to the power of n. Associativity, u plus v plus w is equal to u plus v plus w. So we can easily write the n tuples like this. Therefore, then we say that it is also satisfied by r to the power of n. Identity vector. What is the identity vector? 0, 0, 0, so on 0. That is the identity vector in r to the power of n. We can add to any other vector. We get the same vector. Identity axiom also satisfied. If u is the n-tuple vector, what is the negative vector for u vector? Minus u. Therefore, u plus of minus u is equal to 0. Therefore, the fifth axiom is also satisfied. Coming to the scalar multiplication axioms, therefore already it is closed under scalar multiplication. Now coming to the k into u plus v is equal to k into u plus k into v. K plus L into U is equal to KU plus LU. K into LU is equal to KL into U. Last one, 1 into U is equal to multiply this n-tuple vector, 1 into U is equal to U. So the r to the power of n under the operations vector addition and scalar multiplication, all 10 axioms satisfied by r to the power of n. That's why r to the power of n is a vector space. This is called as a n-dimensional vector space. And also another name is called as a n-tuple space. This is the first example, another main example. Now coming to the set of all m by n matrices with real values. The entries of the matrices are the real values. Here compulsory you have to mention the matrices entries are compulsory real values. Therefore, we can define the set V is equal to m by n order. So we can easily, like that, the above example already we proved that that r to the power of n is a vector space. Here also the vector addition and scalar multiplication also satisfied by the set of all m by n matrices, and we can easily go through the all other 8 axioms. Therefore, then we say that the set of all m by n matrices forms a vector space. This space is called as a matrix space. We can easily prove that for a small example we have to taken m equal to n equal to 2, that is 2 by 2 order matrices. See here first u vector is u11, u12, u21, u22. Another one is v vector. So add these two vectors. Therefore, by adding the first row, first element, second row, first row, second element, second row, first element, second row, second element, we get this resultant matrix. Therefore, these are also real values. This belongs to that same set. Therefore, the set of matrices is closed with respect to vector addition. By multiplying the scalar k into the 2 by 2 matrix, we can get this matrix. Therefore, this is also a satisfied scalar multiplication. So by using these two operations, the remaining axioms also we can easily prove. That's why the set of all m by n matrices forms a matrix space. Some more examples we can see, important examples. Here we have to take an in third example. The set of all polynomials of degree n are less than n. Polynomials means it is a, we have to take for example p of x is equal to a naught plus a1x plus a2x square plus an plus so on an x power n. So this is called a nth degree polynomial. So now we define the vector addition. P of x plus q of x. Here see the p of x plus q of x. We can add the same coefficients a naught plus b naught, a1 plus b1 into x plus so on an plus bn into x power n. So this is the vector addition. Scalar multiplication. K into p of x is equal to ka naught plus ka1x plus so on kan x power n. This is the scalar multiplication. By using these two operations, vector addition and scalar multiplication, the remaining 8 axioms also followed by this one. Because of zero polynomial means 0 plus 0 into x plus so on 0 into x power n. Negative polynomial also exists, minus a naught minus a1x minus a2x square and so on minus a n x power n. Like this, every axiom is also satisfied by the set of all polynomials. That can be represented as capital P of x. And also scalar, under scalar multiplication, axioms are also easily verified by with respect to scalar multiplication. That's why the nth degree polynomial always forms a vector space. This another name it is called as nth degree polynomial space. One more example I have to taken. The set of all real valued continuous functions. Here the set V can be taken as the set of all real valued continuous functions on the entire real line. So that means f of x, g of x are the elements of the V. Here we define the vector addition f plus g of x is equal to f of x plus g of x. This is the vector addition. K into f is kf into x is equal to k into f of x. This is the scalar multiplication. So by using these two operations, the remaining 8 axioms we can easily prove for the set of all real valued continuous functions. Because of associativity also exists in the continuous functions. Commutatives also exist in the continuous functions, and identity function. Identity function means 0 of x. That is also exists. Negative of the function. Negative of the function means if you take the f of x, what is the negative function? Minus f of x. That's why every element, every continuous function having the inverse also. By multiplying the constants, k into f of x is equal to k into f of x. Similarly, we can prove that the axioms k into f plus g of x is equal to k into f of x plus k into g of x. K plus L of x is equal to k into f of x plus L into f of x. K into L of f of x is equal to KL into f of x. 1 into f of x is equal to f of x. That's why the set of all real valued continuous functions forms a vector space with respect to vector addition and scalar multiplication. This space is called as a function space. These are the main important examples. One is n-tuple space, matrix space, and nth degree polynomial space, function space. Now coming to the properties of vectors. Here C, V is any vector in V and C be a scalar, then the following simple properties are true in the vector space. Here 0 is the first property you have to see. 0 into V. 0 is the scalar, V is the vector. 0 multiplied by the vector, we can get the 0 vector. Coming to the second property, C into 0 vector is equal to 0 vector. So simply we can easily, this follows. Therefore, coming to the third point, if C into V equal to 0, here C is the scalar, V is the vector. If it is 0, then either of C equal to 0 or V equal to 0. Coming to the fourth point, minus 1 into V is equal to minus V. These are the simple properties of the vector space. We can easily follow and we can easily prove also. Some remarks about the vector space. V is called as a real vector space. How can say that it is a real vector space? It depends on the scalars. C and D are real numbers. Whatever the scalars we are using in the vector space that are the real numbers, then we say that the V is called as a real vector space. Not depend on the elements of V. Whatever the elements of V are there in there, but the real vector space can be depend on only on the scalars. Therefore, if the elements of V involve complex numbers also, but the scalars are real numbers, then we say that V is must be a real vector space because of the real vector space can be defined on the scalars only. The scalars are real, then we say that it is a real vector space. If scalars are complex numbers, then we say that it is a complex vector space. Therefore, here see the real vector space always is denoted by V of R. If C is the field of complex numbers, then the vector space is called as a complex vector space. It is denoted by V of C. So these two are you have to remember, real vector space and complex vector space. It depends on the scalars. If the scalars are real values, then we say that that vector space is called as a real vector space. If the scalars are complex numbers, then V of C is called as a complex vector space. Another point, the vector space having only one zero vector, only one vector, that is zero vector, then it is called as a null space. Only zero vector it contains. And also it is called as a zero vector space. These are the simple remarks about the vector space. Vector space definition is over and examples over. Some remarks about the vector space is over. Now coming to the another topic, subspaces. Subspace. Let W be a non-empty subset of a vector space V. W is a non-empty subset of a vector space V. Then W plus dot itself is a vector space with respect to the same operations of vector addition and scalar multiplication defined in the V. Then we say that W is a subspace of V. See here, V plus dot is a vector space. W is a non-empty set. W is a subset of V. That means a non-empty subset. W plus dot is a vector space. Here, the plus dot are the same binary operations of V. That's why W is a subspace of V. Simply we say that W is a non-empty subset of a vector space V. Then W itself is a vector space with the same binary, same operations of V. Then we say that W is a subspace of V. It is very, very important definition. So It is easily understand. The subspace also, the subset is also itself is a vector space. That means the 10 axioms satisfied by W with respect to the operations vector addition and scalar multiplication. Then we say that this is called as a subspace of V. It is a very simple definition, but it is very, very important. So this is the way to define the subspace of a vector space. One important theorem is there with respect to subspace. See here, W is a non-empty set contains one or more than vectors in a vector space V. See here, W is a subspace of V if and only if the following conditions are held. First one is if U and V are the vectors in a W, U plus V is also in W. If K is any scalar and U is any vector in W, then the product of scalar into vector is also in W. This is the very important one. So here is W is a subspace of V if and only if the following conditions are held. If and only if means we take the W is a subspace of V, the two conditions are held. If the two conditions are held, then we say that W is a subspace of V. We can easily prove that this theorem also. It is very important. So to see the examples, we can use these two conditions. Any real example, we have to show that that set is a vector space by using these two conditions. One is vector addition, one is a scalar multiplication. These two satisfied by any subset of V, then we say that W is a subspace of V. Very, very important. Again, I will tell you the definition of that subspace of V. W is a non-empty subset of a vector space V. Then W itself is a vector space under the operations of vector addition and scalar multiplication. Then we say that W is a subspace of V. Some more points regarding vector space here. Every vector space V has at least two subspaces. See here, one is the zero vector space. Zero space is always is a subspace of V. Zero vector space means it contains only zero vector. It always forms a subspace of V. And the vector space itself is a subspace of V. That means V is a subspace of V. Then we say that every vector space have at least two subspaces. At least two subspaces. Some real examples we have to taken here. Subspace of R square. It is a two-dimensional space. Here 0 zero vector space is also a subspace of R square. It contains the zero element means components 0, 0. Lines through the origin and other subspaces. R square itself is a subspace of a R square. Therefore, see here 0 space and R square. These two are at least two subspaces of R square. Other than those two subspaces, we have some more subspaces we can create. So therefore subspace of R cube. R cube it is also zero subspace and R cube. Other than these two subspaces we have lines through the origin, planes through the origin. So you have to remember every vector space having at least two subspaces. One is zero vector space and other one is itself is a subspace of V. These are called as the improper subspaces of V. Other than these two subspaces, we call it as a proper subspaces of V. Important theorems on subspaces. The intersection of two subspaces of a vector space is also a subspace. For example, W1 and W2 are the two subspaces of a vector space. The intersection means W1 intersection W2 is also a subspace of a vector space. It is also, you can easily prove in the textbook. Therefore, you see the this is the important theorem with respect to the subspaces. The intersection of two subspaces of a vector space is also a subspace. In general view, we have to define another theorem. The intersection of any family of subspaces of a vector space is also a subspace. That means we have to take the n number of subspaces, W1, W2, W3, so on, Wn. The intersection means W1 intersection, W2, W2 intersection, W3, W3 intersection, W4, like this. Therefore, so on intersection Wn, then it forms a subspace of a vector space. One more important theorem is that the union of two subspaces is a subspace if and only if one is contained in the other. The union of two subspaces is a subspace if and only if one is contained in the other. W1 and W2 are the two subspaces of a vector space. Union means W1 union W2 is a subspace of V if and only if W1 is subset of or equal to W2, or W2 is subset of or equal to W1. These are the important theorems with respect to the subspaces you have to remember. Some examples in subspace. Let W be the set of all 2 by 2 symmetric matrices. Symmetric matrices means the det of the 2 by 2 matrix will be 0. Then we say that the matrix is called as a symmetric matrix. This is, we have in lower classes, we have this definition, symmetric matrices. Now we have to show that W is a subspace of a vector space M2 by 2. It is the same standard operations, matrix addition and scalar multiplication. Here is the M main set, B is the M2 by 2, W is defined as a symmetric matrices. Now we have to see W is a non-empty subset of the main set M2 by 2. M2 by 2 is a vector space. Because of W, you have to define as a non-empty subset of this main vector space M2 by 2. Let we have to take the two vectors A1, A2 belongs to W. Symmetric set means A1 is transpose of A1 is equal to A1, A2 transpose is equal to A2. Therefore, A1 belongs to W, A2 belongs to W. A1 plus A2 transpose is equal to A1 transpose plus A2 transpose. That is equal to A1 plus A2. A1 plus A2 belongs to W. If K belongs to R, A belongs to W, KA transpose is equal to K into A transpose, that is equal to K. Vector addition and scalar multiplication. These two satisfied by W, then we say that W is a subspace of M2 by 2. One more example we have to take, and let W be the set of all singular matrices of order 2. Show that W is not a subspace of M2 by 2 with the standard operations, vector addition and scalar multiplication. A we have to take on 1 0 0 0 belongs to W. B 0 0 0 1 belongs to W. A plus B is equal to, add these two vector matrices 1 0 0 1, but the determinant of this matrix is not equal to 0. That's why it does not belongs to W. This is the identity matrix, that det is 1. That's why it does not belongs to W. That means W contains only singular matrices. Therefore, W is not a subspace of M2 by 2. Linear combination. How to define the linear combination? A vector V in a vector space V is called a linear combination of the vectors U1, U2, so on, UK in V. Any vector V can be written in the form of the linear combination C1 into U1 plus C2 into U2 plus so on Ck into Uk, where C1, C2, so on Ck are the scalars. Therefore, this is called as a linear combination of the vectors. So C1 into U1 plus C2 into U2 plus so on Ck into Uk. These are called as a linear combination of the vectors. Any vector can be written in the linear combination of the other vectors exist in the V. This is called as a linear combination of the vectors. It is very, very important to define the linearly dependent set of vectors, linearly independent vectors. Here see the, it is very, very important definition. Any vector in a vector space V is called as a linear combination of the vectors U1, U2, so on, Uk in V. Then V can be written in the form of V is equal to C1, U1 plus C2, U2 plus so on, Ck, Uk. So C1, C2, Ck are the scalars. If S is equal to W1, W2, W3, WR is a non-empty set of vectors in a vector space V, then the set of all W of possible linear combinations of the vectors in S is also a subspace of V. So this is the one of the linear combination. We can write the many more linear combinations for this vector. That's why the set W of all possible linear combinations of the vectors in S is a subspace of V. The set W is a smallest subspace of V that contains all the vectors in S, in sense that the any other subspace that contains those vectors contains W. So these are the important points regarding linear combination. How to find the linear combination of the vectors? V1 is equal to 1, 2, 3, V2 is equal to 0, 0, 2, V3 is equal to minus 1, 0, 1. Here W we have to take 1 minus 2, 2 is not a linear combination of V1, V2, V3. See here 1, 0, 1, 1, 0 minus 1, 2, 1, 0, therefore 3, 2, 1, therefore 1 minus 2, 2. This you can't write it as a V1, V2, V3 cannot be, in this vector cannot be expressed as a not linear combination of V1, V2, V3. Because of W cannot express as a C1, V1 plus C2, V2 plus C3, V3 that can be expressed in the form of a matrices form. We can't express, this system has no solution. That means we can't express as a linear combination of these vectors. Now coming to the linearly independent and linearly dependent. If we take the set S is equal to V1, V2, so on, Vk, set of vectors in a vector space V, we can write the linear combination of these vectors C1, V1 plus C2, V2 plus so on, Ck, Vk is equal to 0. So this is the linear combination of the vectors of the equation. If the equation has only the trivial solution means all the constants will be 0. C1, C2, so on, Ck equal to 0. Then S is called as a linearly independent. If the equation has only the trivial solution, C1 equal to C2 equal to Ck equal to 0, then S is called as a linearly independent. If the equation has a non-trivial solution, that means not all 0, then S is called as a linearly dependent. So that means you have to write the any number of vectors V1, V2, Vk, that vectors can be written in the form of linear combination equation, that is C1 V1 plus C2 V2 plus so on Ck Vk is equal to 0. Then the equation has only the trivial solution. That means every constant must be 0. Then the set is called as a linearly independent. If the equation, that linear combination equation having non-trivial solution. Non-trivial solution means at least one constant must be non-zero. Therefore, then S is called as a linearly dependent. Linearly independent means simply you have to write it L dot I. Linearly dependent means L dot D. So these are the two important definitions we have to see. Set of vectors forms a linear combination equation. The equation has only the trivial solution. That means all constants will be zero. Then S is called as a linearly dependent. If the equation has non-trivial solution, not all zero, then S is called as a linearly dependent. Theorems. A set S with two or more vectors linearly, first one is linearly dependent if and only if at least one of the vectors in S is expressed as a linear combination of the other vectors in S. Linearly dependent means at least one vector of S can be expressed as a linear combination of the other vectors. Linearly independent if and only if no vector in S is expressed as a linear combination of the other vectors in S. This is the one more uh, definition of the linearly dependent and linearly independent. Linearly dependent means at least one vector can be expressed as a linear combination of the other vectors in S. But in the linearly independent, no vector in S no vector in S is expressed as a linear combination of the other vectors. Some important notes we have to remember regarding linearly dependent and linearly independent. Phi is linearly dependent. Therefore, until non-empty set is always the single vector. Therefore, pi is always a linearly independent empty set. Therefore, 0 belongs to S. Therefore, until that means the set of vectors contains 0 vector. Therefore, the set is a linearly dependent. The set of S vectors contains 1 0 vector, then it is a linearly dependent because of at least one non-zero constant exists in this set, then we say that S is linearly dependent. V not equal to 0. Therefore, V is a, that means any non-zero vector, one is exist in the a single non-zero vector set contains a single non-zero vector, then V is a linearly independent. These are the very important two. A single non-zero vector forms a linearly independent set. A set of vectors contains at least 1 0 vector, then the set forms a linearly dependent. Fourth point, S1 is subset of or equal to S2. If S1 is linearly dependent, the first set S1 is linearly dependent, S2 is also a linearly dependent. That means every subset of the linearly dependent set is also linearly dependent. S2 is linearly independent, S1 is a linearly independent. Therefore, the superset is linearly independent, therefore the subset is also linearly independent. These are the important we have to remember regarding linearly dependent and linearly independent. Any set of vectors containing 0 vector forms a linearly dependent. A non-zero vector forms a linearly independent. How to prove the linearly independent set of vectors? Determine whether the following set of vectors in R cube is linearly independent or linearly dependent. So here there are set of vectors S can be taken as 1 2 3 0 1 2 minus 2 0 1. We write the linear combination of these two vectors v1, v2, v3, write in the form of linear combination. We get this one, therefore write in the form of matrix form, reducing into echelon form. It has a only trivial solution because of it. The constants will be 0. Therefore, S is a linearly independent set.